Hey y'all, oh my goodness. I watched an episode of 48 Hours today that I thought of Wendy a million times during it. And I so wish that she would have committed her murder for hire in Kansas, because this case has so many parallels to her case, and they only had circumstantial evidence, and they knew that it was going to be a rough one to win, but man, they said we got to do it, because the defendant, he was so arrogant, just like Wendy. And if you look at his picture, because I'm going to put a link in the description, and you have to watch it. I mean, anybody that has followed Wendy will really be flipping out when they watch this, because if they could get a conviction for him, I think there's a really good chance that the Florida could get a conviction for Wendy. I mean, okay, so let me just say some of the parallels were they were fighting over custody of the child. They only had one kid, but he had a lot to gain if Carmen Murray and Tom Murray, those are the names of the people. If he won custody, and they had such a bitter divorce, it was crazy. But there was no real money involved, unlike Wendy, who walked away with so many more millions than she would have had they just got divorced. So her motives were much stronger than Tom's. But there are so many similarities. For instance, when they first found out that Carmen was murdered, Tom went into the police station and talked for a 10-hour interview without an attorney, and just talked and said so many things that made them suspicious, just like Wendy. And the funny thing is that when the defense attorney stood up, he must have mentioned the word coincidence so many times. And I was like, oh my God, the parallels are crazy. Tom was an English professor, and Carmen was a lawyer. So how weird is that? And there were angry emails involved. And let's see if I have anything else. And he claimed he was not at the scene, just like she did. And it just goes on and on. Tom worked at the University of Kansas. I mean, the parallels are unbelievable. But what really struck me was that this case was brought for the family, really. They were so grief-stricken, and with all the circumstances leading up, the DA said, okay, we're going to arrest him, and they arrested him. And then they were working on bringing it to trial, and he lost re-election and therefore was out. And so the only person left to try the case was a brand new assistant DA that had never tried a case before. Her name was Karen Wilson. And oh man, bless her heart, she was so nervous. You could see in her opening statement, she kept saying the wrong thing, like apartment instead of house or whatever. And she was really like nervous. And then when the first or a couple of witnesses were up, you could see that the defense attorney was very seasoned, and he was like wiping the floor and really throwing Karen off her game. But somehow she plowed her way through, and the next thing you know, she got her conviction. And not only, it was a month-long trial in 2005, and not only did she win her conviction, but he appealed it, and it got held up on appeal. I mean, upheld. Held up. Difference. Got held up on appeal, and he's in prison today for, I think, 25 years to life. So surely Wendy, who even if she did not conspiritualize, I know that's not a word, but even if she was not involved in the conspiracy, which I've always felt she had some part, however minuscule, even if it was as minor as them just kind of making a comment like, well, if you really are serious about getting Dan out of your life, just, give us the nod and let us know when he'll be in town, and we'll take care of the rest. a wink and a nod, I think they call that. And if they had done that, and she had sent a text, or actually she was with them, so she could have said, without, you wouldn't even need a wiretap to hear her say to them, well, let me just see if Dan will be in town this weekend because I want to bring the boys swimming. And then she sits there texting, and he texts back, yes, I'll be here. And she just holds up her phone with nobody knowing that it's happening. No recording or anything. And her mom could have been sitting there, and she could have just nodded her head like, got it, he'll be there. Okay, systems a go. So I just feel that her involvement, and even if she was blindsided and she did not have responsibility for being involved, you best believe that she took so much advantage of the aftermath. And not only that, but for the parents to get that worked up. Dr. Grande said it best. She weaponized their hatred of Dan. And she was able to psychologically motivate them to do this. So to me, that's involvement. Maybe we have to wait until 2060 when the Matrix and all of those type of mind things are, happening for her to be found guilty in a court of law. But in my mind, she's guilty. So I would just love for y'all to check out this episode, because I think that what if, first of all, you will enjoy it. Any Wendy watcher will be like, oh my God, the parallels are insane. But not only that, what if you share the video with someone you know, and they share it with someone they know who happens to know Georgia Koppelman's office, and maybe Georgia looks at it and with a fresh set of eyes, and again, we don't know if Georgia is about to go after Wendy. We can only speculate, and really, I don't think she is, though, because I think she's going to wrap it up after Donna. And if she is, what if she looks at this video and she's like, oh my God, even though Kansas is not Florida, she might be able, she's so good, she might be able to see where maybe this will motivate her to say, well, they didn't have a slam dunk, and they didn't have any solid evidence, and no DNA, and no this, and no that, and it was all entirely circumstantial, but they got a win. So just please share the video, watch the video, and by all means, please tell me if you think that it is so similar to Wendy's that Wendy needs to have done this in Kansas, and then we could have been watching Wendy be carted away. It would have been so great. But anyway, that's all. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. I'm so curious if I'm the only one that is like, oh my God, this is Wendy. Only a man. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye now.